Morning, guys. You're in my world. You're in my B truck world. Yep. Boy, what a Shisit show it's been here for the last few days. Wow. Of course, I didn't make out as bad as some. Some people got wiped out. Wow. Crystal River got hit pretty hard. And then the Big Bend area, Cedar Key. Man, I'd like to wipe that place out. Yeah, them people are just really in trouble. Right here, too, on the water. In on the Gulf, right here off of Clark Street. This is the first time ever. They got catastrophic damage in there. And they got a GoFundMe thing for the employees. They got quite a few employees. But they're on the other side of the loop road. It's a peninsula going in, it's a loop. And there's restaurants on the other side, little shack tiki bar things. I imagine they just got leveled. I don't know. The Inn on the Gulf, it's a fairly good structure, and it's got a two-story thing to it. I think they got like a like motel thing there also. But wow, hit hard. And more bad news. After I made that video the other day of cleaning up stuff at John's place, where the 4 hives floated all together and went on over against an oak tree, about a 40-yard float, I get back home and I get a text. I've been wondering. I've texted a couple times down there to Ralph's place down there in Bailey's Bluff. That's where I had the 2 colonies, as you remember. They're right by the seawall. And I would always pan across there, show you the thing. And it's right next to a park. I'm on the north side of a park down there. Pretty good sized park. There's everything in there. Saw palmetto. There's everything in that place. And it's really a nice spot, especially for cabbage palm and mangrove. Mangroves, I mean, that's just a cluster. It's a canal system all through there, and it's just loaded with everything a beekeeper wants. So I'm gonna try to hang on to that spot if I can. I got really bad news. I went in there. The real bad news was, as you remember, I had 2 8-frame hives, but they were stacked. They were 3 high each. Yeah. So, yeah, that whole thing, and I roped them down. I roped them all down, guys, to the concrete blocks. I figured the water would just come up, right, and just keep coming up. And the bees, I've had this happen before, the bees will just move up in the upper chambers. I had to flood out one time down there in Northport, and Port Charlotte, I think it was, yeah. And the water came up within, I had them all on clip pallets. I had about 100 hives in there, or more, I forget. It's been so long. The water came up. Of course, you had the pallet was this high. And then I had a 10-frame deep, so I was running 10-frame deep at the time. And then I had 4 shallow supers on that. The water came up within 1 inch of the excluder. For days it laid there, so it killed everything below. But I didn't lose a queen, guys. Those queens moved right on up, and all them bees moved up them upper chambers. And any cracks in them hives, they opened, took out all the propolis so they could breathe in there. Didn't lose a one. But I lost resources below, and I got there just right after the heavy rains had quit, and the Shisit show had been over by then, but the water came all the way up, and I'm going, oh man, I've lost everything. That water, and then by the time I got back, I said, I'm not coming back for 3 weeks. They just like now, the pepper just started really getting in high gear. I told my bud, I said, oh, screw this. I'm going back home. I'm going to go back home and have a beer, and I think I'm going to do a beer chaser with some Jim Beam. Yeah, that's what I did back in my early days. Yeah, it was called Dumb and Dumber, and then after, Drowning bees, that's dumb, another dumber. Let me 3 dumbs in a row. Anyway, that never works either, guys. The crying in your beer and stuff, no, that never works. No, just give up all of that, give up all sugar, give up all pasta, bread, fruit drinks, cereal, all your very famous great oatmeal. No, throw all that, guys, all that in the dumpster. I'm the only one probably going to tell you this, because modern medical will not tell you this. Why? Why won't they? Because they like the business. They like the business. The hospitals are full, guys. The hospitals are full. And this place isn't full. I'm here at Planet Fitness, and I don't see hardly any cars here. Huh, I wonder why everybody got scared and ran off. I was here yesterday. Anyway, yeah, throw away all that stuff. Don't cry in your beer. We just got to rebuild, that's all. Martin been keeping an eye on the situation. He's seen the mess. He's up in Wolverine, Michigan. Had a great year on his stuff, and he's leaving quite a few bees behind. But he's bringing down to Florida his best, so he can do some grafting and burn out some queens. I usually get some queens from him, some cells rather, and I hatch off in an incubator, which I hope to do again this spring. Our action starts in February. Yeah, you guys are probably jealous because we start early. We start in February, and it's just basically balls to the wall until the end of this month, pretty much. September. Some guys I hear go, I mean, if you head south, if you go down south, say down around Naples, we're down there, you can probably make bees right on into November, I would think, because you got the punk paper trees down there blooming. They run late, so yeah, I'm not going down there no more. No. I'm staying right here in base camp, working out of base camp and working areas real close. Well, anyway, I drifted off topic here, but Ralph's place, down there where I had the 2, them things floated up, guys. There I did the same thing. I roped all the way around, but I came through the top block. That's crazy. I can't believe how much flotation there is in those 8-frame beefies. That lifted not only, guys, the freaking floated up, not only the heavy rails, it floated up the top block. And the whole thing moved uphill. This is uphill now. The land like this goes uphill to Ralph's house. Big octagon house. It's 5 stories. That he built himself, pretty much. Yeah, and the whole, it's a big, looks like a huge egg, or a big golf ball. The thing is monstrous, and it's got all these, it looks like a builder's nightmare to me. I don't know why anybody would build. Maybe he was thinking round structure, hurricanes, airflow, maybe. I don't know what the thought process was, but the entire roof was all in like pyramid sections, the whole structure, and it was like asphalt shingles on that, and then you had windows like in the thing going on it. It was 5 stories, guys. 5. It's a huge bubble. Anyway, the whole beast came up, went over not far, and the whole thing blasted apart. Obviously, with that wind, the water rising would be one thing, right? But the wind and the waves coming off that water, was a pretty good little gap across there to the next line of houses across that canal. So, and it was just blasting from the west. So imagine it created huge waves. It looked to me like the whole scene looked like it just hit with big waves, you know, and the power of waves. destruction of waves is incredible. Don't look like he had any damage other than crap down. I mean, there's some bamboo in there. The older bamboo had snapped, and that crap floats. And she looked like the wife was out there and moving stuff around the pile. And the pile was right where I needed to get a cart in. I got a hand truck. I went down in there. I brought a good thing I brought that. I've been hand toting stuff up the hill. But yeah, the bees were scattered out and close up to the house. They floated all the way up by the house, but when the whole cluster mess busted, all the lids came off, and all the sections of the hives. I was down there working only a day or two before the storm hit. I was putting in beetle grease in there. And that's another thing too. It looks like between the honey, the sea water running through, the honey, the beetle grease, of course, all that got washed out, and essential oils floating, and the bees looked kind of sticky. Of course, with the honey too, they were just hanging on for dear life, and the waves hitting them, and those honey's coming out. It was a cluster monkey circus from hell. So anyway, out of all that cluster mess, there was 2 boxes further up toward the house, and they were supers. Both the base units with all the heavy goodies in it, and then the next story up had a lot of heavy goodies in it. I mean, brood honey, guys. It was just mixed. And I don't think I'm going to do that. I'm going to go back to excluders. This cluster mess of honey and trying to wait for them girls to, just load up frames of honey. And I was working around that because I just moved the frames back. We had brood in them. I would just move the frames back against the wall that had honey and kind of keep the brood nest in. But these girls here were fantastic. They were blowing it out, guys, from wall to wall. So if I do that, if I see where they need a 3rd box on these 8-frame beefies, I'll put excluder on, put the other box on top, move some honey frames up to coax them to get up in that top section. So there was only 1 hive there, and it was a super, and it looked like they all kind of clustered together. I'm sure there's a big swarm off in a tree somewhere, absconded in a tree. But was a big gob of bees on a light super. This is where the majority of the bees were. So what I did is picked up that box, carried it back to the stand, reestablished the stand, and then my ant motes, the ant motes were right there on the ground sitting flat. That was the weird part. And the little top covers, they were sitting right there, and I just picked them up, put them back in place, and put the stand back together. That stand was short. It was only 4 foot, because those rails I use are 8, and it was just for convenience. I butchered one of those rails to make a 4-foot stand, because I was only putting 2 hives, because I was having to hand cart all that stuff down there. I don't have this electric cart built yet. That's coming up. But anyway, and then there's 2 boxes. I mean, they were heavy, full of honey, but it was half honey, half brood, just a mess in there. So I took them back and set them up on that same stand next to it. They were just in 2 supers, so the bottom's open, so everybody can come in and go if they want it. But from what I've already seen at the house, these bees don't even want this honey. It's so contaminated with seawater and everything. They don't want nothing, I don't think. I'm going to have to fire up the pressure washer and just blast all this stuff clean. Yeah, it doesn't look good at all. And I don't think I've got salvaged 1 or 2 hives out of that whole deal coming off of that first, where you saw the video yesterday. Those bees are not good at all in there. I don't know. The whole bottom section, which is bad, I need to probably today I'm going to look in there and tear that apart and get all those frames out of there, because it's just a gooey mass of dead bees, honey, and everything down below. And the bees I have are upstairs. So I need to take the bees from upstairs. They advance into supers. And so I got to look that whole mess over. I just so disgusted. I just stacked them up out back and went. But yeah, I was sitting there. I keep drifting off. The woman came out, the old woman. She's a lot older to me looking than, I think Ralph told me he's 71. He was a bodybuilder, guys. This guy was in shape. And the sweetest guy you'd ever meet, guys. Sweetest guy you'd ever meet. He called me up when I put my, Steve, I got a place for you. I got a place for you for your bees. I said, do you? Where you at? And he told me. I said, oh my God. I've been looking at that place for years down there. Yeah, I got a spot here. Come on over. Let's match up here and I'll show you what we got. And so he gave me a tour of the place, and that's the place where I couldn't drive my truck in, right? I got to use this cart thing. Just a peach of a guy, and whatever you want to do, he says. I said, well, how many beehives can I put in here? Because my card says 2. That's the bait, to try to bait him up, you know. Well, the guy only wants a place for 2 hives. Yeah, you know, call him. And then when you get there and you start talking to these people, how many hives can I get? Ralph's, I don't care, as many as you want. My other 2 locations, guys, they're the same way. Put in what you want. Well, you got to use some sense. You can't overload it, because you start getting people popped and this and that, you're going to get your butt kicked out. But yeah, Ralph says, whatever you want. Do your thing, just come and go when you need to. I said, well, I'm not coming and going out of here until it's, you know, plenty daylight. I usually hit the sites about 8 o'clock. And actually, I like to get there about 7, but, you know, just as crack of day. So, it's cooler weather. You got to work the weather in Florida. You'll die down here if you don't. And, so anyway, just to give you a little heads up on the Ralph, he was just a super guy. I mean, he was, and anyway, and then he'd call me, how the girl, and he'd say something about the bees okay, yada yada. And then sometimes he'd catch me coming and going. He'd come out. There's a landing up there, and he'd come out. How's it going? How's it going? How the girls doing? He was all concerned. He'd be smiling and stuff. And so we'd chit-chat. But I'm there looking at the craziness, figuring out what I want to do. I was thinking about pulling them all out, and I said, well, they're here. I've got right in the middle of Pepper. Let's put them back in a freaking stand. But there was only one colony there. They had, like I said, bees in the top box. So I went back, and I took a base unit. Didn't look too bad. I put it down, but that may be an issue too, because they're going to have to crawl through some of that nasty looking stuff. And I just rolling the dice again, and I put them on top and reassemble that hive, and then put those 2 that contaminated resources next to them. We'll see what happens. I threw a lid on that, keep more rainwater out. But they got access to the bottom. But I did crack the boxes so they're twisted, and they could come in on 4 corners. But the old woman comes out, and she said, "Oh, what a mess! What a mess!" I said, "It sure is, ma'am. It sure is. But one good thing is they floated toward your house, not to the Gulf of Mexico. Because if they would have went that way, I probably could never retrieve them." She said, "Yeah, that is a good thing." I said, where's Ralph? She said, no. Just like that. She said, no. And I said, well, what happened to Ralph? He died. I said, what? I was in shock, guys. I was in freaking shock. To add insult to all this injury, my little Ralph is gone. She said, no, she was, He went in for, he's been having trouble breathing. Well, normally when that happens, your friggin' ticker's not producing, right? Pumping correctly. The main pump ain't working good, right? He went in, they had to do a heart cath. They went and killed him on the table, guys. They killed him on the table. I couldn't believe it. I was in shock. I said, oh my God. I says, when did this happen? She said, on the 3rd. He's been dead since the 3rd. What is today? 29. And I thought it was kind of a ghost town. Last 2 trips over there, because I only go about once a week. I didn't see anything. Everything's quiet, peaceful there, you know, nothing. I didn't hear a dog bark. Nothing. And just unbelievable. One thing after another, guys. One thing after another in old Steveo's world. But she said, the old woman said, I guess you'll have to just deal with me from now on. She said, I'd text you. She texted me and said, the bees floated up into the yard. And I thought it was Ralph texting me. It was her text. She said, the bees have floated up into the yard, but I do see some bees back flying around by your old stand. Well, they've drifted in, guys. 50 yards toward the house. And then it was just a killing field. I had boxes. Well, there was 6 boxes all over the place. Upside down, everything. So again there, I don't know what I got. Hopefully because that was the 2 of the best queens I had in the whole operation right there. They were fantastic. There was the last, well, they were fresh queens too. That I made them up. They were the last batch of splits I made, and they just exploded. Those new queens, guys, they do usually, if they're worth their salt, they are, when they get to egg laying from get-go, they are fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. I see Bob Benny, he requeens every year. I used to just wait until they fail. But what I'm going to do from now on is keep nukes going all the time. They're going to be 5s. I'm going to run at 5s. I don't like the 2-framer action. I got a bunch. I got about 20 of them, but I don't even know if I'll use them. I have a little brain seizure going on here. I'm thinking actually of taking those 2s and just instead of giving them away, I'm thinking of taking off the side panel and combining them together. Very easily done, I believe, to make a 4 or 5 framer out of them, because that'll make them more robust. And just those light 2 framers, guys, the robbing scenario on those, geez, they're so weak and little. And out of those little foam boxes these guys make, I don't know how they keep them things from just swarming out there. I mean, robbing out. I don't know. That's not something I'm going to play with ever. You guys play with whatever you want to play with. But that's not something I'm going to fool with. So I'm going to be going with 5s. I'm going to keep some 5s going cooking all the freaking time. I'm going to have to buy some more of that idiot, that fool idiot, and his girlfriend, Harry as Harris. Those 2 freaking super clowns. I'm going to have to buy some of their high-end sugar, and they're the reason things are so screwed up right now, today. Our economy, gas prices, sugar prices, food prices, you name it, they have screwed it up with their communist thought process. Control everything. No, we don't need these idiots controlling nothing, no. They can't even control their own lives. They're all freaking alcoholics, sugarholics, and plain flipping nut jobs. We don't want them. I need my man Trump back in there and get things straightened out. Yeah, he's good for 4 more years, guys. And then somebody else, his son or somebody, can take the ball and run with it. But these flipping idiots, you see here yesterday, Or the other day going to the friggin' border and telling these two border cops down there how she's going to square things away. What? If anybody listens to these people, you really need to go in, check with your primary care physician, and ask him, her, if they do complete lobotomies, okay? Because that's what the frig you need, alright? Alright, guys, I don't know where it's going from here with old Ralph's place. The other two places, John's place got, oh man, he's a mess there. He's got almost up to his hip in there and in the house on that location. And then the other location, Doug, he had 2 feet of water in his garage. He had a freezer float, an upright freezer float, and then tip over. It fell against a wall, so it didn't go all the way in, you know. He said it might be still good. I would be a little leery of that, with seawater all up in that thing. I'd be trashing that, because, you know, that seawater's going to rot out thing. You can have electrical fire in that. That's where all these electrical fires coming from. These electrical appliances, whatever, get seawater shorting out, causing a fire. Yeah. So anyway, that's it for now. I'm gonna go in and get on that treadmill and go pump some iron. Cause Steveo's got to get strong, and I want you to stay strong. Stay away from the left wing nut jobs. Cancel anything coming out. Just stand there and listen to these left-wing nuts running their mouth, and just do this with them. Yeah. And then when you turn and walk away, you just go, what a flippin' idiot that was. Be happy, be strong. We got to keep getting it on. See you soon. Bye-bye.